The LM-432 Crab Droid is a separatist droid that appears in both the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars animated series. And my goal with this MOC was to bring this droid to life, which LEGO has never released an official set, and do that in a way that blends the prequel and the Clone Wars depictions, so taking cues from both the live action and animated versions of the droid. Because it's depicted differently in each of those mediums, I opted for bulkier legs drawing from the live action depiction, and you can see that in some of the shaping, and also a wider body than most of the LEGO versions that are out there already, and the live action version to draw more on the Clone Wars. Ultimately, I wanted the droid to feel grounded and have that heavy armored feel without losing articulation or stability. Looking at the model, it's immediately apparent that it has a very wide and bulky silhouette, and I wanted to draw on some of that stability and thick armor plating and defensive form and posture by taking the bulkier elements of the different depictions of the Crab Droid. It's very low to the ground, and I wanted to avoid a top-heavy look, and I wanted to have that stable, menacing, imposing, low to the ground feel. In terms of the structure of this MOC, you can look at the underside and see that basically the whole of it relies on the 2x2 modified round plate with axle hole and then the 8 octagonal bars coming off the sides. The octagonal bars tie the legs together to that single piece, and then the axle hole is used to mount both the bottom blaster cannons as well as the top body of the Crab Droid. This ended up yielding a pretty sturdy frame and one that very nicely and simply ties everything together. I ended up going with Exoforce, drone arms, and other bar pieces as the attachments for the legs because these provide the more mechanical droid-like look that the Crab Droid naturally has, as well as having more durability than modified plates with clips. Choosing this structure and then using the pneumatic T Technic pieces in the middle to connect both the Exoforce drone arm pieces as well as the modified bar with another bar orthogonally together allows for a strong structure that also provides extra support to the bulkier leg assemblies. The main feature of the model is the articulation in the legs, and there's a total of 4 points of articulation. You have one where the Exoforce drone arm clips onto the modified plate that makes up the bottom of the Crab Droid's body, and you have an additional 2 where the pneumatic T-piece connects to both the drone arm as well as the modified bar piece, and then you have one final one where the modified bar piece connects with an Exoforce drone hand to the leg assemblies. This articulation allows you to move each one of the legs as you see fit, and you can get some good walking as well as crouched and maybe more defensive poses out of this. Additionally, the laser cannons on the underside of the model also have 1 point of articulation, and each of those can be angled up and down independently. When I thought about the visual design, my main goal was to be faithful to the source material with providing that reddish-brown color for the bulk of the Crab Droid while also not skipping out on the mechanical elements like you see in the leg connections and the underside of the model. I relied a lot on reddish-brown because that's a very good interpretation based on the source material, and I used a lot of these triangular road sign pieces to get various shapes, most noticeably on the legs, but also on the top of the Crab Droid's body. I think that the split between the more mechanical elements in the structural sections and the bottom of the leg assemblies and the mostly reddish-brown pieces all over the rest of the body do a good job of adding neutral color blocking and mimicking the source material that I based my model on. In terms of comparison to other models and minifigures, you can see that my Crab Droid model is a bit larger than the Dwarf Spider Droids that LEGO is including in their sets. Of course, not the most recent one. The one pictured here is the one from the ATTE. So it's a little bit larger, but still recognizable as within the same class of droid and sort of the same unit within the CIS ranks. Compared to minifigures, it's definitely a bit on the big side, and that is pretty similar to how it's depicted in Revenge of the Sith, but it's not so overwhelming to the point that you can't recreate those scenes or have it be unbelievable in a battle scene or other minifigure context. Overall, I'm glad that I was able to improve upon previous designs and bring the LM-432 Crab Droid to life in LEGO in a way that blends both the strengths and just the differentiations between the live action depictions of the droid as well as its depictions in the Clone Wars.